got my cell phone. But I was back at my house. And it takes forever to get here. All right, good morning. Sorry about being late. Great. So I'll officially call to order the regular meeting of Coachella Valley Water District Board of Directors, April 25th, 2023 here in Coachella. And would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, sir.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right. Roll call, please.
Good morning, President Powell.
Here.
Vice President Estrada.
Here.
Director Bianco.
Here.
Director Aguilar.
Here.
And Director Nelson.
Here.
Thank you.
Good. Everyone's here. Welcome. Good morning, everyone. Do we have any additions, deletions, adjustments?
No, sir. The agenda stands as
Agenda?
published.
That's as far as we know. Is there anyone from the public wishing to comment at this time?
For those on Zoom, if there's anybody on Zoom that would like to provide general public comment, please use the raise hand feature at this time.
Thank you.
Bless you. Okay, I do not see any at this time,
Nobody
Mr.
at this
President.
time? All right, let me know if you get any hands in the air. Consent calendar consists of items 5A through I.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
That passed 5-0. On to the action calendar. We're making up some time now. 7A. Hi, Carrie. Why don't you go ahead and take it? I won't even say what it is.
Okay, so it's a team effort this morning. Both William and I will be presenting portions of this. So this BAI is related to the Whitewater River Groundwater Replenishment Facility. We're asking the board to authorize the general manager to enter into a new right-of-way grant with BLM and to certify the environmental documents associated with this action. So just some brief history. The original right-of-way grant with BLM expired in 2014, and since that time, we've been working to renew the right-of-way grant. The groundwater replenishment facility is made up of 19 ponds, and approximately half of the ponds are located on BLM land, so that's why this right-of-way grant is so crucial to the operation of the facility. In March, this past March, BLM completed their environmental process, and they issued a record of decision. Shortly after that, on April 3rd, BLM presented us with a new right-of-way grant offer, and that's what we're bringing to you today. The conditions of the grant include it's a 30-year term. We're able to use 691 acres of BLM land. We're able to replenish up to 511,000 acre feet per year. There's a rental fee of approximately $30,000 per month. And we also must obtain a reclamation bond, which we're not exactly sure what the fees are going to be for that at this time. CVWD will share the rental expense and any expense associated with the bond with Desert Water Agency based on our water management agreement that we have with them. And we'll be budgeting these expenses in next year's budget within the West Replenishment Fund. We have a brief PowerPoint to just review the CEQA evaluation that we went through over the last 9 years. We'll be brief, but prior to going through that, I do want to mention that shortly after, well, about a week after we received the right-of-way grant offer from BLM, the Agua Caliente Band of Kuya Indians filed an appeal on the record of decision that the BLM made. So we are just learning more about that process. We have our attorneys involved with the BLM attorneys. So BLM has stated, though, that we can proceed with the right-of-way grant process, despite that. So as we learn more about this, we will let you know.
Carrie, you said 511,000 acre feet,
Yes,
okay, and that would be for half, so I would assume that we could actually put in,
that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing. That's assuming the maximum capacity of 700 cubic feet per second, 365 days a year.
but you said that the BLM property is only half the ground.
Right, and so that was part of the frustration, you might want to call it, as we were going through this process. They wanted us to evaluate the whole facility, and that included what we could replenish on our land as well. So,
Unless we made it larger, right?
right,
Yeah, okay.
right.
So
Yeah.
that's enough.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, that's, a few years ago when we had a really wet year, and we were running, continuously for, as much as we had run in a long time, we had replenished about 389,000 acre feet, I believe. So,
So that's the record, 389?
386, sir.
386.
okay. So we still have, another 120,000 or
Yeah. I was
140,000.
just thinking about the future, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Terry, is the $0.36 million a year, is that a new cost that will
Yes.
incur? We didn't have that before.
We didn't have a rental fee before.
And what's
yeah.
the purpose of that?
It's just like we do when people utilize our property, we assess them a rental fee or a lease.
Do we have income off of the rental of for the
Right, for the
wind
turbines.
power generation?
Yeah, for the wind turbines,
Yeah.
yeah. We
Okay.
do.
So that will offset.
That will offset,
But it gives us less non-rate revenue income.
right.
Yeah.
And DWA is responsible for anywhere around 20 to 30% of these costs too.
How did they come up with that number, 3.6 per year?
Point
There-
Was the appraiser?
There is a rental schedule that was included with the grant offer, and so it's just based on, there's a big table, and it has multiple years that go out, and it has percentages and rates. It was included with the offer. It may be in the package. So.
Carrie, I have a question. You mentioned the reclamation bond. And I didn't really understand what that is for because, bonds usually an surety or indemnity or something. I don't really understand what it is that we're going to be posting the bond for. What kind of potential loss or risk
I think
are they
this-
looking at?
I think this is a new thing. I remember President Powell asking us for some assistance for somebody else, as whether we'd ever heard of a reclamation bond and what company would provide that kind of a bond. And so I have a feeling this is something new because we haven't dealt with it either in the past, but it's basically to ensure that they can put the land back to its original condition if for some reason we defaulted, which I know it's not gonna happen in this situation,
Crazy.
but I just have a feeling it's some new federal requirement,
Bureaucratic process.
Huh, okay.
so.
No
It's
exception.
based on a cost estimate that we provide them to put the land back to its original condition, so, it'll be a percentage probably.
And there are issuers that provide that kind of bond?
I believe so. We have to research
Okay.
that.
Okay, I was just
Yeah,
curious. Thank
that's the one question
you.
mark.
Okay, it's odd.
Okay, so if we can put up the PowerPoint presentation.
And just a comment from Director Nelson, I wouldn't assume that it would reduce our non-rate revenue just because we have to pay this new rental fee to the Bureau, right? I mean, we're still gonna have non-rate revenue from
Yeah,
the
you're
windmills,
right. You're right.
right? So
Yeah.
we can probably
Yeah.
keep
You
all of
weren't
that
accurate,
in that
right.
bucket and still,
I was looking back
the rent.
at my notes from a few years ago. I think when we brought this item to you, and at that time, we had quoted around 690,000 that we received from the leases. So there would be obviously some remaining funds. I don't, and I'm not, since that
I just
time,
don't know
they've,
if you're required to offset it at all.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, in the budget, it would work that way, but as far as what we could identify as non-rate revenue, it doesn't seem like it would have necessarily reduce that,
Right, okay.
Yeah, because it's just an expense of the
the new expense.
replenishment, yeah.
Okay, so we'll quickly go through this just for the record. So, let's see, can I move it forward using this? Okay. All right, so this was the project team. I was involved along with my right-of-way staff. And then the CBWD environmental team consisted mostly of William and Steve Bigley. And then we had a consultant, WSP, Nick and Matt, and they are on the phone if there's any questions that come up that we can't answer. So, you know, the main takeaway from this slide is that we've been replenishing the groundwater at this site for over 100 years, since 1918. In 1984, that was when we got the right-of-way grant from BLM for the full facility that included all 19 ponds, and that's the right-of-way grant that we are currently renewing. And then obviously, just you know, the replenishment process includes taking the imported water from the Colorado River Aqueduct and including any natural flows in the Whitewater River, conveying it to the replenishment facility via a 5-mile reach of the Whitewater River channel. And then something else just of note, during significant storm events, the stormwater flows greater than 400 cubic feet per second. They're diverted around the replenishment ponds to the Whitewater River channel, and imported water is not delivered to the percolation ponds. So this was the project description and what we evaluated under CEQA, and also what the BLM evaluated under their NEPA process. It was a new right-of-way grant on BLM managed land in 2 locations. So we had a renewal area that consisted of about 510 acres, and that was where the existing replenishment ponds are located. We also had a small low-flow dike area, approximately 2 acres, that we also had a separate right-of-way grant for. And then we included a new area, about 180 acres. We called it the amendment area. And this is located just west of the ponds where we perform O&M operations. And we just wanted to make sure we had access to that land for the operations that we do. And then we emphasized in the CEQA and the NEPA documents that there was no new construction planned, that this was all O&M related activities. And we just want to continue our current operations. And then the request was to be able to allow a maximum of 511,000 acre feet of water in any given year for replenishment purposes. Because prior there was a CEQA or NEPA document that limited that to 200,000 acre feet. So we wanted to make sure that that was very clear, that we could get the maximum. I'm going to skip that. That's just a summary. I'm just going to, so just a nice overview of the land ownership. So the BLM land is the land in red, and also the light blue there to the left of the screen. The yellow is all the CBWD owned property, and there's a little dark blue shape there, and that's owned by the State Lands Commission. We have a 25-year lease that started with that property in 2012. So you can see how critical the BLM grant is. It sits right in the middle of our facility. Again, so project objectives I just went over as part of the project description. So this leads us into the CEQA process. I'm going to hand it over to William to walk you through that briefly, just so you know all the things we looked at and evaluated as part of this project. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Fran.
Thanks.
Good morning.
Morning.
Here, just pointing out the process that we've completed. The notice of preparation started back in February 2020. It's when we started this whole CEQA process. It went through the public scoping comment period for 30 days. We had a public scoping meeting as well at CVWD offices to get feedback, which led to the draft EIR that we developed, which then went out for a 45-day public review and comment period. We received comments back and had developed a final in response to those comments. And then here we are today to request certification of that document. Also, the associated documents that you are probably familiar with, the finding of facts and statement of overriding considerations, the mitigation monitoring and reporting plan. And upon approval, we'll file a notice of determination with the State Clearinghouse and Riverside County Clerk to complete the process. One thing to keep in mind is that we've been waiting a little bit for the BLM to issue the record of decision on the EIS, so that has contributed to the timeline here. As Carrie mentioned, that was recently done in March. We've also gone through Section 7 consultation with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service for continuing the operation and maintenance of the facility. Those conditions are part of the lease agreement. We've also got verification that we're continuing on with the same facilities. Allows for the development of the right-of-way grant agreement, and it'll allow us to continue to deliver water at the facility up to 511,000 acre-feet of water a year imported from the Colorado River, and meets the objectives of the 2010 update to the Coachella Valley Water Management Plan and our plan under SGMA. So that coordination has been very key to make sure that the documents are aligning. So the analysis, I'll get into a little bit of the analysis of what we looked for. Again, it's a continuation of the facility. The right-of-way lease agreement is an action under CEQA that has to be analyzed. It is a project. So this was a long process to arrive at a very simple type of result. But here you can see all of the resource topics under CEQA that we analyzed, all the standard resource topics under CEQA. You can see that most of them have no impact. Some of them are less than significant impact. And then we have one that is less than significant with mitigation. That's a cultural resources and tribal cultural resources for inadvertent discoveries. And then also one significant and unavoidable impact to hydrology and water quality, which identifies the TDS in Colorado River water. Here's the mitigation measures for those resource topics, and these are what's in the MMRP that you saw in the attachment. These include a response to inadvertent discoveries. When we're doing groundwork, we make sure that we're following the state laws for handling cultural resources that may have been encountered. And then also for hydrology and water quality, recognizing that there's TDS in Colorado River water. The mitigation measure that we proposed to deal with that impact is to keep monitoring the domestic groundwater wells that CVWD operates for any health-based drinking water standards and the exceedance levels for those standards. If they were to be exceeded, we would remove that well from service or replace the service from another well with water that is within the standard guideline. And there's also an opportunity for wellhead treatment there at that specific well to lower TDS at below the level. Just so you can see the dates here, we started back in February of 2020 with our public review. And we distribute that through the state clearinghouse to all the responsible and trustee agencies that may be interested in the project, and then also agencies that are on our list to receive notifications of environmental review. And those letters went out for a 30-day public comment period while we also held a scoping meeting at CVWD's offices. That was on February 18, 2020. It was very small. We had, I think, maybe 1 or 2 participants show up and provide comments. The draft EIR was then developed, and it was distributed in August of 2020. So there was some time there and to develop that document with WSP, our consultants, and our team. That was distributed out for public comment and review. And that took place in August and ended in October of 2021. We did receive a comment letter. It was from the Bureau of Indian Affairs, the Department of the Interior. And that letter we also saw was very similar to their comment letter that they submitted to the BLM on the environmental impact statement. Some of the comments almost matched identically. So what CVWD was required to do at that time was respond to those comments, make any revisions to the draft EIR as necessary prior to presenting the final EIR, and make sure that those commenters received our responses 10 days prior to this board meeting, which we did. We delivered those in the first part of April. And there were no substantial revisions. Those responses are mostly clarifications. And so the result of this EIR is that there is one significant and unavoidable impact. This is what triggers the statement of overriding consideration. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to kind of make sure you guys are aware of, the significance as, a decision-making body. Basically, those documents are long. This is a brief summary of, like I said, it's very straightforward. The continued operation and existing facility would continue to use Colorado River water provided by Metropolitan in exchange for CVWD and DWA State Water Project water. Colorado River water has higher concentrations of TDS than most of the local groundwater near the facility prior to its operation. Groundwater replenishment activities using Colorado River water have elevated groundwater concentrations of TDS over time, and continued use of this water for similar ongoing uses would be expected to extend the elevated condition for the life of the project, and would increase TDS in some groundwater levels up to that found in Colorado River water. And just so you know, the local groundwater level is around 250 to 300 milligrams per liter TDS, where Colorado River water is hovering around 600. This could cause the groundwater produced in the Coachella Valley wells in the vicinity of the facility to contain TDS levels above 500 milligrams per liter, the recommended consumer acceptance contaminant level for drinking water. So we mitigate, we put in a mitigation measure to reduce that impact as much as we can. We looked at all the alternatives under CEQA. There is no other feasible or reasonable alternative, and the benefits of the recharge of the groundwater outweigh the rise in TDS, because this drinking water standard is aesthetic. It's not a public health-based standard, and that's clear in the document and what the point that it's trying to make. Basically, under CEQA, what we've done is we balanced the economic, legal, and social and technological benefits of the project against the following unavoidable adverse impacts. And we've determined that the benefits outweigh those impacts. And the proposed maximum recharge of 511,000 acre-feet per year would ensure that CVWD is capable of meeting the current and future water demand as projected by CVWD's 2010 Water Management Plan update and its 2022 update.
We need to take a pause real quick.
We need to take a pause first.
I'll pause? Okay. like to make sure that you have this presentation in the package, and if you review it ahead of time, it'll get you faster through the 1,000 pages of the EIR. So, you know, it's a summary. I can move it along, but I did want to point out that, you know, the facility is a key component of our water management plan, and there's adverse impacts from not running this facility: subsidence, groundwater, water quality, and you know, sustainability issues. If we don't have this facility, it's been a key component of this valley for so long. And also, I think that's just reiterating what I've already said, just that, you know, we've determined that the adverse effects are acceptable given the importance of the facility to CVWD.
Thank you.
Hold on,
Yep.
before you move on, William, I just want to make sure we're live, because we do have other people, and I need to make sure the audio is going out. I'm just verifying that, they're checking it. Okay, we're good.
Sure.
Okay.
And with that,
That's funny.
Oh,
Yep, you're on our presentation, so let her take you back to it. She's going to take you back to your item. The last slide. Now it's yours.
Okay.
There you go.
okay.
Yeah.
So that's a brief summary of what the EIR is all about, and the documents that are associated with that. Today, we're requesting your certification of those documents and authorization to file notice of determination for the project.
William, I have a question on the, thank you, by the way, very thorough. The issue of the tribal appeal on the record of decision, does that affect at all the credibility of adopting this CEQA finding today?
No. We looked at that, and Jeff is here. They're independent actions. You know, the BLM has to make a decision on the EIS. That's in their ball court. And we really, although we've looked into the basis for the appeal, we couldn't really find any information on it as to what it might, how it might relate to an environmental review. So I don't think so. I don't think it is related.
so it's our understanding there are dual tracks. One is the CEQA action being proposed by this board today, and then any federal process that the tribe goes through that your special counsel who's working on the tribal matters is addressing. But for what CEQA needs to be done and the timing that needs to be done, you have full authority to do that today here.
Thank you, Jeff.
Good question. Okay.
Also, this meeting is open for public comments, and those same concerns could be voiced here on our EIR, but I didn't hear any voice concerns.
We can
Thank
ask at the end. We can ask at the end because we do have several people online, if there's anybody interested in commenting on this particular item once you're done with your presentation.
Right, and I think we're done with the presentation.
All right, thank you.
So do we have any, I mean, if there is somebody from the public wishing to comment, we might as well hear it.
Let me check if you jumping on and off. So if we have any members of the public on Zoom who would like to speak to item 7A, please use the raise hand feature at this time. Okay, Mr. President, it does not appear we have anybody wishing to speak to this
So
particular item.
I'd entertain a motion to accept
To-
or approve staff's recommendation.
Exactly. All the recommendations
All-
are set forth.
yeah,
in the staff report.
All 6 of them there that are on the screen.
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That passed by a vote.
Thanks, William. Thanks,
Okay,
Gary.
William. All right, so now different agency. If I misspoke earlier, I meant to say BLM. This one's Bureau of Indian Affairs. Guessing this one's not quite as Difficult.
Good morning.
Yeah. Elmer, go ahead.
Okay, good morning, President Powell and the Board of Directors. Elmer Alec, Assistant Director of Engineering Services and Planning. The item I have before you today is to authorize the General Manager to acquire grant of right-of-way in the amount of $55,314 with the Bureau of Indian Affairs and approve a budget amendment for the flood easement renewal Whitewater River Stormwater Channel project. So CVWD operates the Whitewater River Stormwater Channel. This grant of way renews a 50-year lease on 17.5 acres from allotment track 20E. The lease amount is based upon appraisal, which was included in your packet. Staff continues to work with the Bureau of Indian Affairs for the remaining tracks that are on Agua Caliente tribal lands. I'm available if you have any other further questions.
Okay. So I don't know why I didn't see this particular slide.
So it's
I was looking at it, but-
20E is 8, is easement 8. So it's 2 portions there on the screen.
8, so 8, I see, yeah, 8 is
Yeah.
up there twice.
Yeah, yes, correct.
That's all we're doing is 8, and then we're gonna have to do all the other ones that are pink?
Correct, yes. We are currently working through BIA with all those different fee title and allottees.
50 years. Huh. Okay. Well, there's no reason not to do it. We need it.
We do have temporary easements right now to do maintenance, but to get the 50-year would finally legalize these portions. So.
And there are actually 4 recommendations you have here.
Correct, there's 4 recommendations. There's the budget amendment, the authorized general manager to acquire the grant of right-of-way, and then authorize the expenditures. And lastly, any additional documents that the BIA may ask the general manager to sign, non-financial, non-consequential.
Okay.
I'd move staff recommendation.
Yeah.
I'll second.
Okay, so that includes all 4 items that are recommended.
Yes.
Any other discussion? No public comment? Wonder what all those people are doing. Okay, why don't we vote then? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passed 5-0.
Thank you.
Thanks, Elmer. Now we have monitoring well construction. Carrie?
Okay, so, this is a phase 2 of the salt nutrient management plan monitoring well installation process. So we're proposing to build 2 perched aquifer groundwater monitoring wells in the Desert Hot Springs subbasin. We received a grant in the amount of $160,000. There is a match cost that we have to provide of approximately $40,000. So currently, right now, we're just asking for approval to solicit for bids for the construction of these 2 monitoring wells.
Good.
I'm just curious why we're putting the one well, G4, in that location. It just seems so remote. That's just,
I'll let
Really removed.
Zoe answer that one.
I mean, they're both,
At least in the negotiations with the regional board.
Good morning. So it's a 2-part answer. One is the Desert Hot Springs, although it's not used for drinking water, it is subject to the SNMP, and so one of the things that they wanted was coverage. So that's the first driver, to make sure we're monitoring that we have spatial coverage. And then the second one was land ownership. To ensure that there are no costs with land, these are being installed where the agency has land ownership.
okay.
yeah.
Doesn't even look like there's a road up there.
Access.
Looks like it's right in the floodplain.
Okay.
Of course, a lot of those houses look like they're in the floodplain too. Assuming those are houses over by G3. All right, is there a motion to approve 7C?
Yeah, I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passed 5-0.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Carrie. On to D. Contract with Task Order 3 with Black and Beach. Ramon.
Good morning, President Powell, members of the board, audience, and fellow staff. The purpose of this board action item is to seek approval for the general manager to execute Task Order 3 with Black and Beach for the local hazard mitigation plan update. We have a cost of $185,965, plus we have other costs associated with the project, which include project management at $20,000 and a contingency of $30,895 for a total request today of $236,816. We have done this before back in May of 2009. There is a Congress Disaster Mitigation Act that basically says that if you want to seek FEMA aid or assistance, that you have to do an assessment in regards to your district, in regards to any disaster that could affect the district with regards to earthquake, flooding, fires, terrorism, high winds. This plan needs to be updated every 5 years, so we're kind of due. We have to be able to implement and adopt a plan by May of 2024. And so this gives us the opportunity to get ahead of the ball and start this process and start this assessment. I'll take a moment here and pause to see if you guys, if the board would like to continue with this presentation, or there's specific questions that I may ask or answer. Sorry.
So this is required by law?
It's a requirement, yes, if we would like to seek federal assistance.
If we want it, yeah.
If we want.
Yeah, I'd say we'd like to seek federal assistance when need be, so I would move the item. I don't need a.
So this must be something new, right?
Actually, we done this back in 2019, and we did an assessment within the vulnerabilities of all the divisions, and we came up with a plan on how to best protect in regards to natural disasters. And this is part of our items that we already are doing as part of our CIP improvements and also our CMS. It's just we're documenting the good work that we already do and providing that plan to the state and then federal.
Okay.
I think
So I made a
I
motion.
heard a motion.
Second.
There's a second. All right. This comes out of whose department budget?
So this will be carried through the engineering.
Engineering administration, okay. All right, let's vote then. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Passed 5-0.
Thank you, Armando.
Thanks, Armando. Okay. PSA with ESA, is that intentional?
Engineering services.
It's Regulation Tuesday.
I know, it's all this stuff. Another EIR. I will.
Good morning again.
And we're glad you take care of it, Wayne.
Today, we're requesting funding approval for the development of an EIR to analyze the Warp 4 non-potable water improvement project to develop recycled water at Warp 4 and in that vicinity and to service customers. This will also help support the change petition to recycle water that's currently being discharged in the Coachella Valley Stormwater Channel. This funding is identified in the Capital Improvement Budget Sanitation Fund, predominantly in next year's budget. A small portion of this could be funded this year, which appears to be available. And also, that's basically the request. Very straightforward. It's about an 18-month process that we would go through to complete that documentation and move forward with approvals and next steps in putting that project forward. The total request is $296,813. That includes a 10% contingency, and the selected consultant is ESA Consultants. We went through the entire scoring proposal process with the finance department to arrive at our decision. We selected the most qualified and highly ranked firm, balancing the costs and the quality of the proposals and experience. And we've arrived at this decision to select ESA. One thing you should also keep in mind is that we re-advertised an original RFP that was done in November. Those costs came in almost at $500,000. We revised the proposal, flew it out on Planet Bids, and we're able to receive a much more cost-efficient proposal from ESA. So we're happy about that. So with that, I'm looking for the approval from the board to proceed with the task order.
Okay.
William, I just want to make sure I get a sense of where this project is at. I see that in the report you talk about 3 different phases, and start off with some history going back to 2022. Are we in phase 1 still, or are we? And then after this, we would jump to phase 2. Where are we at? When you talk about phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, am I looking at the right stuff?
Yeah, the project has 3 phases, so none of these phases are yet built or analyzed. We'd be analyzing the build out of Warp 10, Warp 4, which would occur in 3 phases. So,
so the environmental work you're doing right now is for the total expansion of the completion of.
That's right.
All 3 phases.
That's correct.
Okay, and then you're anticipating. Do you have an anticipation of when you would start phase 1? Is there a? Are you put within a time frame of how long your environmental
Well, like I said,
is?
the environmental would take 18 months is our estimate to get through. At that point in time, we'd be revisiting the change petition that we have with the State Water Board. If granted that change petition, I think then there would be another process that we initiated with engineering to prioritize the project and build the project. So I guess it could be as soon as 2 years.
Yeah, I guess my question is, are we up against the time clock? Does the environmental work expire after so many years?
No, there is no mandated time expiration date on a CEQA document. It's more of a qualitative approach on CEQA documents. If the project has changed or there's new circumstances that have arrived,
okay, understood.
Rough guideline is about 10 years. You want to reevaluate your document and make sure there's no major changes.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Have we considered the risk of this not getting the change petition for this? I assume this is the water that's flowing into the Salton Sea right now, right? So we want to say, well, we're going to use it for agriculture irrigation instead of flowing it into the sea. Mm-hmm. And so this is, now we're starting to spend some money, assuming we're going to get that. And I know we've heard of opposition to that in the past.
That's right.
Where are we on that, the opposition? I mean, I haven't heard any updates on that in a long time.
Well, the opposition voiced concerns about that, and they really want us to look at the contribution that discharge may have on the receding levels of the Salton Sea. And that's what this document will do. And it'll be a disclosure, as CEQA is, for those impacts to the Salton Sea and the stormwater channel. Those comments were part of the change petition protests that we received. And this document was mandated as a requirement before they'll make a decision on that wastewater change petition. So we have to go through this process. Unfortunately, we don't get a guarantee with it, but we feel like the information will give them the support that they need to proceed with that and give them what they've asked for. And our initial assessment shows that's, you know, I don't want to jump to conclusions, but overall, the contributions that the Coachella Valley Stormwater Channel has to the Salton Sea are small, and the discharge is a small portion of that total Coachella Valley Stormwater contribution. So, you know, you're really getting down into the weeds about the project impacts, but I feel like.
Is the wastewater change petition at the regional board or at the state board level?
State board.
State board? Okay, thanks.
And yeah, so thank you for explaining that we're almost forced to do this as a
Condition
process
of the
to
approval,
the to the change petition. So the other question I had was let's see, what was it? Oh, so last time we spoke about this, I remember, Steve, you brought up this idea about how it was better for us to try to lock in maybe the flows, because we know that there's going to be expansion, and so maybe one way to approach the change petition was to kind of hold whatever that volume is that's going to the storm channel now, but claim all the additional flows that are going to come in the next 20 years. Is that part of this too, or is that separate?
So that's a very important point, that regardless of whether we are successful or fail with the change petition, we still need to do this environmental work. We still need to build the recycled water facilities so that all the growth flows can then be used without a change petition. So we need to go through this process either way. If we're successful, it's just going to depend how much of Warp 4 recycled water we'll be able to use versus how much we may be required to continue to discharge. You know, our hopes is that we will be able to recycle 100% and eliminate the waste discharge to that water body, something that the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System is designed to do under the Clean Water Act. That's our hope. They may not agree. They may say you have to continue to discharge a quarter of the amount of the water, but you can recycle the rest because we got to protect the aquatic life in the Coachella Valley Stormwater Channel. That's what the process will do. So we may think it's 18 months to get through this environmental review. It may take longer. But then we start working again with the protestants, working through the protests before the state board is even going to make a decision. So that may take a couple of years. So, and that's before we'll even start on knowing if we're going to do a phase one or a multiple phase. So I just want to make sure our expectations are not set too high with this process. It's going to take time. But either way, we need to do this to begin recycling at Warp 4, whether it's existing flows or only gross flows or a portion of existing flows.
Thank you.
That's an excellent point, Steve. Thank you. We want a low number as far as our baseline.
Mr. President, I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Good. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passed 5-0. All right.
Thank you.
And then
Thanks, William.
yeah, thanks a lot, Juan. Our 3 engineering reports for the basins.
Yes, good morning, President Powell, members of the board. As required by State Water Code Section 31631, staff have prepared the engineer's report on water supply and replenishment assessments for fiscal year 2024. The report provides an updated description of groundwater conditions based on the SGMA annual reports. So this matches the information that we presented to the board in March. We did update the East Whitewater River Subbasin area of benefit boundary per board's approval. As required, we updated production and replenishment totals for calendar year 2022 and provide updated income statements. Now, those income statements match what was just recently, just a couple of weeks ago, presented at the board study session, and there are no rate increases proposed for any area of benefit. So the recommendation is that the board acknowledge receipt of the engineer's report as required by State Water Code. I'd be happy to go through the presentation, but if the board feels like this has already been covered in those prior March and board study sessions, then we can move to the recommended action.
I think we covered it. I mean, particularly this presentation, it looks very familiar. Yeah, okay. Is there a motion to acknowledge receipt of these engineers' reports?
Also move.
And I'll second that motion, Director Nelson. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That passed by vote.
Thank you.
Thanks, Zoe. So, written communications, I noticed there were 2 more on here. I had a question on one of these. I don't understand. I feel like I'm in an alternate universe here. On Scott Telling, asking about how the Colorado River might affect us. Customers contacted and relayed that CVWD does not rely on water from the Colorado River.
I think there were a couple things lost in translation.
And then water is mainly for agriculture. Ag Conservation Program is committed to stop relying on the Colorado River.
Yeah. There were a couple things lost there. So we did contact him to talk about Colorado. His concern was about drinking water, and that Colorado River water isn't used directly for drinking water. We talked about how we're leaving water on the Colorado River by the voluntary agreement that we entered into to curtail replenishment and our efforts to create an ag conservation program. So that was what happened there. And also on the first one, Ryan Arias, it mentioned that he did receive a drought penalty on his bill, but his email was that he did not receive one, but he still wanted to meet with staff. So, yeah.
Okay. I think you're fine on that.
Yeah, it was cut off. It didn't carry over exactly from what you
Okay.
We just need to widen those roads.
Scott, that was a nice shout out that Renee Ramirez got.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Renee does a great job, and
It was wonderful.
yeah. Our entire water management team has been doing a great job over the last year, going out there and meeting with customers. They were backlogged like 3 weeks, or booking appointments 3 weeks in advance. So they've really done a great job kind of getting all the turf rebate process completed and working with customers to reduce their water use. So, Renee's done a great job, and the entire water management team.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Board general comments. Why don't we start with Director Nelson?
So, let's see. A lot of good water news. 100% on the State Water Project. Nobody, I don't think there's a person in California thought we'd ever see 100% again. So, right? Past 2007. So that's fantastic. Great news. I had a question on one of the emails we got from the district from a USBR public release statement. Said that we had gotten $1.5 million for golf conversion, and I read through there, and it was like there were so many articles I could find, and so much money they're giving out. I couldn't find what that program was all about. So,
You want me to read it?
yeah,
I printed that one out too.
yeah.
provide rebates for turf conversion, smart weather-based irrigation control systems installation, and sprinkler nozzle replacement. Targets 105 golf courses in the service area that rely on surface water and groundwater. Expected to result in annual water savings of 1,637 acre-feet currently lost to over-irrigation. The conserved water will remain in groundwater storage, alleviating groundwater overdraft.
Okay.
And we're matching that, so that was
Yeah.
about half of the 3 million.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, no. And that's out of the Water Smart program, not out of bucket 1A or 1B or anything like that, or C. Yeah, that's great. So great news. That's
That
all
is
I have.
great.
Yeah.
You stole mine. Okay.
Oh, sorry. No, we partnered.
I had 3 of, I had Director Aguilar.
Yeah, it is great news. I just wanted to just check on the status of our 2x2s for Rancho Mirage and Cathedral City.
Staff is trying to work those. We were successful in having one recently with La Quinta. We had scheduled one for IID, but it was canceled because of a request by IID. And then we are working them as aggressively as we can without being impolite. We have informed them of our availability, and then they have to work through their own availability and who wants to attend and who doesn't want to attend. I'm confident that we'll get them scheduled as soon as we can.
Thanks.
It's just doesn't seem to be
Be
a
a
priority.
priority for them.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing.
Well, maybe.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
No comments.
No comments.
All right. While we're on the topic of meetings, May 2nd, I had a placeholder for 29 Palms 2-on-2. May 2nd at 11 a.m. Is that not? I haven't heard anything recent on that.
29.
I believe staff is still trying to work through scheduling that as well. Oftentimes, they'll give us dates, then we work with your availability.
get
By
it.
the time we get back to them, those dates are no longer
Yeah, I
available
get
on
it.
their end.
All right. Well,
staff
I was
is-
just gonna say if it's starting at 11, I'm gonna have to leave at about 11:40, 11:45.
I'll check on that and we'll update the calendar.
So I don't
accordingly.
know.
Yeah,
May
we,
2nd, I don't have anything on my calendar. So.
No, I know. I just had I know there was an inquiry about it. Also, just FYI, I'm going to be in Washington, D.C. on May 9th, which is a regular board meeting. I can post there, right? So it
Like
would be
the olden days.
it would be in a hotel room in Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
So I could put that all on there. I don't know what my agenda for my other commitment is, so I don't know. I'm going to have to figure out the
Yep.
availability of that
As we get closer,
as we
so
get
I'll
closer
post
to it, yeah.
that agenda
You'll be
for
there, too.
May 9th will be
In DC?
posted by May 2nd, so we just need to coordinate that prior to or
You guys going
by May
together?
2nd and then
No.
noon.
That's why
That's like.
You going on the 12th?
I'm going to be there the 10th, 11th, and 12th.
I'll be the 10th. I'm coming home on the 11th.
Oh.
You guys can have dinner.
Can you get dinner?
Yeah, I'll be at the Willard. Also, I had just made an inquiry to Jim Barrett. I see these flows in the channel, and I'm like, what's going on, right? So Dan says, this is you, Dan. You could just stay there. Because I thought, well, if Whitewater, we would be capturing it in the thing. So I guess a little update on our flows. We're capturing about 50 CFS of snowmelt at Whitewater, along with deliveries from Met. 425 CFS now going to 525 CFS Wednesday, which is tomorrow, right? That's pretty good. What's the high flow? What's the most we can do there? Is it more than that?
706. It's 511,000 divided by
So we're-
365.
So we're
That's the max that we just approved.
No, because you have
Yeah.
days off, you could go higher.
No,
But we
no.
probably-
She said that we approved the max.
It's not a daily-
I took that
But it's not a-
511,000
Yeah, but
acre
that's
feet
not-
divided by 1.98.
But that doesn't have-
times three, divided by 365.
That doesn't have a daily cap. And so what is? Can we go more than 525 from Matt?
Yeah, so
Or-
Metropolitan just put in a weir that allows that changes the hydraulic grade line in the aqueduct, and it allows more water to come into the Whitewater area. They are turning the pumps on this week, so increasing the pump flow. So on Wednesday, we're going to go to 525, and then we're holding steady, and we're expecting to go from 525 up to 700-ish early next week, Tuesday, Wednesday. That being said, Desert Water Agency has asked for 22 CFS to go to mission. So if we can get to 725 total, they take 22 to 25, we'll be at 700, which is about 1,400 acre feet a day. 511 is very high. We can do 42,000 a month. We've done it before with no flooding, running at 725 the whole time, as we did when we had the 386,000. I don't know, 42,000 times 12. The aqueduct shut down in February, so I'm not sure, but I was very involved in the number at the time. So,
Let me just ask you real fast. We do have this. I remember an email about the security. We're all good with that.
we just got a proposal last week, and
Swimmers.
we're giving him we're giving Southwest Security a preliminary contract through June because his normal contract runs out. So it's going to be 2 different task orders. But that is going to start on Monday.
Okay, that's needed.
Yeah,
Yes.
it is.
Yeah.
It is. It's good. And then the reason I asked, because that doesn't explain the water that's flowing through the channel now. So what is that?
So there's a dry wash that comes out of Andreas Canyon. There's one out of Tockwitz Canyon. There's a debris basin at the mountain on Tockwitz Canyon, way over in the Murray Canyon area. There are 2 pipes that come down, low flows. They are running constantly through the pipes. I've never seen this much water come out, probably because of the snow melt hitting that. But none of that is coming from Whitewater. As I said, we're capturing 50 CFS or so right now. So it's unusual that it gets all the way down past Rancho Mirage, and it's unusual that it's this high. But we've looked at the flows. There's a gauge on that, and it's been pulsing from 50 to 60 for the last week or so.
Yeah, interesting. So those are rare flows that, I mean, the question might be, why don't we impound that water? Or why doesn't the tribe impound it? Or why doesn't DWA impound it? Somebody might have a claim to that water that they might want to.
Yeah, it's rare that it's that high, for sure.
Yeah, so to build the facility.
Well, as it comes down the Whitewater Channel, doesn't it?
Well, it percolates. Yeah, I think a lot of it's
because it
percolating.
doesn't get down to La Quinta.
But it's not really. I mean, it's not really spreading a lot in the channel. It's a pretty narrow.
Yeah, it stays in the center of the channel for the
Center,
most
yeah.
part, and it should die down, but with the heat, but it might get a little larger as the snow melts before it dies down.
That's our record snowpack on the kind of west or east of San Jacinto. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
That's cool.
I'll send you an exhibit showing you the debris basin that's up there. I'll send it to Jim today.
Wow, that's awesome.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Cool stuff.
I think that's all I have. Okay. So, do we have any board requests for future agenda items? Nope. Why don't we get into the meetings, Director, Vice President Estrada? I think you have a couple. Why don't you start?
All right. I thought I reported on this, but I guess I didn't. That was the regular legislative committee meeting we had. We had an update from our state and federal lobbyist. There's a new word that they use. I don't know what it is, but I call them lobbyists. We went over a number of bills. Feel like deja vu, like I already said all this. But the biggest one we talked about was the Salton Sea Conservancy bill that we are tracking. But at that meeting, we gave staff some direction to prepare for opposition pending more coordination with the other Salton Sea Authority member agencies. So part of what I heard since then, I did ask staff for an update after we saw that the bill moved through the committee. And so what I am hearing now is that IID didn't take a formal position on the bill at their legislative meeting, which was going to be scheduled, I think, a few days after our meeting. And everybody seems to be kind of waiting for action to be taken at the Salton Sea Authority. which we have a meeting for on Thursday.
week, yeah.
And I think that the executive director, Patrick O'Dowd, is preparing a staff report for the members that is going to request that we formally ask Senator Padilla to make it a 2-year bill. And if it doesn't become a 2-year bill, then we all have to oppose it. So that is something that we might potentially need to do here as not just as the Salton Sea Authority, but as Coachella Valley Water District. Just, I think in general, there hasn't been a lot of coordination between the Salton Sea Authority, the member agencies, with Senator Padilla's office. And so we're a little bit confused and concerned about what this conservancy will do to the progress that I think we're making right now. So those are the types of things that we want to be able to express to the senator, and we just haven't had a real chance to do so. And so that was that meeting. And then that meeting, I was there with you, John.
Yeah, I think I already reported on that.
And so I think you might. I've missed the last
Yeah,
meeting.
because you weren't here. Yeah.
So that was, we got an update on the east area of benefit on the rack. We went over. I think we've seen the presentation as a board also, kind of what Zoe went over, was going to go over today. Well levels and historical averages, things like that. And there was a conversation that came up, I think, from Indio as it relates to the funding that I think we're going to receive from not replenishing at Tommy's Levy. What are we going to do with that money? And so that is a question that I think we're going to have to address at a certain point. And that's kind of what we talked about that day. And then later that day, we had a meeting with the Congressman Reese, and White House Coordinator Landrieu, who I think was also the mayor of New Orleans.
New Orleans, yeah.
But as I'm told, you got to say New Orleans or something.
New Orleans, yeah.
New Orleans, you don't. Okay, so
Nolan.
yeah. Anyways. So so we had a quick meeting with him. I think he was out and about with the congressman in various parts of Southern California, including the San Diego area. I think he stopped by the Temecula area. He stopped by the Coachella Valley, and I think the next day they paid the Imperial County a visit. When he was in the area, he had requested for a quick meeting with staff and CBWD to, I think, just mainly go over a recap of some of the federal funding that we've been able to secure, and then hear about our plans and for consolidation of systems, much of what we've been doing for the past several years. I know that there was another meeting later on that day which we didn't attend, but I think someone attended. I think Victoria attended. We were hoping that we would get some sort of indication of new funding opportunities, but I don't know that we heard much of that. There was one that came up, and I don't know, Jim, if you asked staff to look into it, but it was the one related to emergent contaminants of concern. That seemed to be kind of like the only new pot of money that I remember hearing that I think there's probably not even a program for it yet. There's probably
probably not, since we're still waiting on money.
Yeah. So anyways, that was a quick meeting for that, and then I did not, and that's it. I'm done with my meetings.
Yeah. Let's see, we had the 2-on-2 with La Quinta on the 11th. Director Nelson and I were there. Good meeting. They wanted to talk a little bit about their sphere. I kind of brought up this EIFD that the county is proposing, and I think CVW should at least be aware of what, if any, impact that might have on our taxing footprint. They say it won't have any impact on us. I think we should make sure of that. I haven't read the actual proposed language of it, but we talked about Lake Cahuilla and the challenges there. What was the other big topic? Oh, well, what's the CVEC?
Coachella Valley Energy Commission.
CVEC and strategies there. They serve on that, we don't. It's good to get caught up. We have a lot going on, interfacing with them. Oh, and power. And IID.
Who was there?
Linda and Deborah McGarry, who's the newly elected council person.
It's a good meeting.
And some staff, the city manager, John. Yeah. CRB on the 12th?
CRB on the 12th, that was held in Long Beach, and the morning before the meeting, we had a tour of the Pure Water SoCal demonstration plant there in Carson. Fantastic facility. It's huge wastewater treatment plant. At that particular facility, they also take in industrial water waste streams as well. And so they have a plant there that they go through biological remediation, reverse osmosis, ultraviolet light, and they turn wastewater into drinking water. Not yet have a permit for us to taste it or anything, but it comes out as clear as this bottle. It looks pretty good. They're in phase one of that, and as you know, that's a project that is supported by the state of California, Matt. There's also some involvement with Nevada and Arizona. The plant at build-out would supply 155,000 acre-feet of water on an annual basis, which would offset Colorado River imported supplies or supplement state water project supplies for that Long Beach, LA area. And they actually have plans to pipe that all the way up to the Weymouth treatment plant, which would, is in near Rancho Cucamonga. I always forget the name of the little city there, but it's right on the 210. And so it's like a 14-mile pipeline, so it's a pretty big project. And so they would drop water off as groundwater replenishment in a couple areas, and also serve it as a direct, go through their blend and go through their treatment plant there. So quite an interesting project. And then, of course, we had the CRB meeting afterwards, and it was kind of had some good news about water, which I'll talk about in just a minute.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
And I wasn't there.
Okay.
So you could remove me.
CVCC, Director Bianco.
Yeah, I was a little late because of the Coachella traffic getting from East Valley all the way into Plum Desert, but I made it there for our annual review of Coachella Valley Multi-Species Habitat Conservation Plan. Talked about the plan that we had gone over last year, properties acquired, properties cleaned up, invasive species that have been removed. It's moving ahead pretty strong. I mean, we've been acquiring a lot of property, and they continue to. So, all good things, I believe.
And then I guess you had another meeting right after that.
I was not at the E&E.
Okay. Right. Then we had a study session on the budget. 4 of us were there, and on the 18th. And just say again, Rick, I really appreciated the presentation. Very good. April 19th, I was featured the only speaker at the, I guess their favorite speaker of the day.
Yeah, you
Since
got a comment.
I was
on
the
it.
only one at the Trilogy community in La Quinta talking about water. Lorraine, thank you very much for supporting that, and Scott also. Lorraine was there. They were also impressed because your voice was on the video that we showed. Funny how people are, right? You're a celebrity now. But it was really good. They video recorded it, and I have a link if anyone's interested. Just let me know and I'll send it to you. But I did watch it because I just was curious, They didn't include any of the Q&A session at the end. It got a little weird at the end, but not bad. It was just people had questions, I think they have a very strong sense of ownership of that Levy facility because they're right next door. And when they heard that we're not going to be putting water in there for a little bit, they're like, well, that's our water. I mean, and I think that's good. I mean, they have that's not a bad reaction to have.
It's not.
But I tried to explain to them that we're building elevation in Lake Mead, and that we have this in lieu recharge project that's getting fired up almost simultaneous with the delay, where we're temporarily stopping that replenishment, and that we should see similar benefits from the Oasis project, and that we're going to be closely monitoring groundwater levels to make sure that we aren't doing anything unexpected, unintended consequences. But yeah, good. I do want to have a follow-up conversation with Scott and Lorraine, and maybe Jim. Maybe we can get together after today, later today, about a couple follow-up questions. Let's see. Then we had April 24th, CVW Environmental Assessment Committee.
I was not able to attend.
Okay. 24th California Farm Water Coalition, Director Nelson.
Yeah, so that was just this week. The Farm Coalition, we met via Zoom. Had a lot of good discussion about messaging both on the Colorado River and the State Water Project. The coalition has really done a lot of work with IVH2O down in the Imperial Valley, and been more involved in that arena, supporting California's positions on priorities and usage. So it was good. That's about it.
Good. Do we have any other meetings that need to be reported on?
I have a couple.
Go ahead.
On both April 3rd and April 17th, I attended a California Section 5 Contractors Coordinating Committee for the CRB. Jim's been on at least one of those, probably both of them. Obviously, Robert's on that as well. So I continue to stay engaged with that group, talking about how we're dealing with USBR in terms of moving forward with the SEIS, the Supplemental Environmental Impact Statement. So working on that. So that was two of those on April 3rd and April 17th. And then on April 20th, I had two meetings. One was Flume Data Labs, which they made a presentation about all of the countries' flume data use, and they're harvesting a lot of that information, and probably hope to monetize it at some point. And so they're kind of trying to, there's some kind of estimation of indoor and outdoor water use, and so I had questions about, how do they ground truth that and so forth, and it has some interesting, just algorithms on water use and time of day, and being able to differentiate when they have a real high water use, how it's most likely outdoor use, and when it's lower use. So there is some estimation going on, but it was an interesting presentation. So I know Scott's been involved with Flume on various different levels. So that was on April 20th. That same day, I attended the USBR's April 24-month study rollout, which was nothing but fantastic news. According to the study, which this is an important one, thinking in terms for the USBR, in terms of thinking for what's going on up to August. Snowpack's pretty much done. Runoff's about to start. So the Bureau's now estimating, and I guess I should preface that by saying, really, Robert and I should go out and talk to the golf community more often, because we really talked about the dire, he's not here, but we talked about the dire condition of the system and how, if we have a bad year, things are really going to get tough on the Colorado. So we go out and sing this really sad story. And at this meeting, the Bureau comes out and forecasts an unregulated inflow into Lake Powell at 14.5 million acre feet. So to give you context to that, last year was about 6. The year before that was 3.5. The year before that was 5.8. We had a 13 in there, and the year before that was 4.5. So this is a huge inflow into the system. According to the study, Lake Powell releases are going to be between, with the operating criteria between the lakes, between 7.48 and 9.5, with the most probable at a 9.5 million acre foot release into Lake Mead. So with that, the forecasted year-end level at Lake Powell would be up 50 feet from December 31st up to 3575. And I had forecasted up to 1,066 before this, and we're going from December 31st at 1044 and change, and the forecast is now at 1068. So it's a 24-foot rise in Lake Mead this year. All just great news. It was a good 24-month study, and obviously discussion about this is 1 year in 7 we're getting a big year, so there's still things to do as far as conservation and with the SEIS on the street and talking and the negotiations happening, so there's always caveats to that. But great water year this year. And I did forward the presentation to Jim so he could get it out to the board. You could take a look at it.
Good. I have 2 meetings, but I'm happy to hear that you did the trilogy. I actually got 2 calls about that, and then I didn't hear back, but I got a call from John Corella. I don't know how he's involved there, but he called and he said, hey, they're looking for a speaker. And then I got a call from Ricardo Loretta, who's, I think, pretty involved with the Rotary Club in Palm Desert. Yeah. So they must have gotten a hold of you. So I'm happy to hear you took care of that. So I had a similar meeting on the 14th with the Desert Greens Country Club, and these were folks that wanted to hear about the Salton Sea. They wanted to hear in general CVWD updates on the drought, and I gave a presentation to them on what we call our strategic approach for providing safe drinking water to the eastern Coachella Valley. So I did something similar with those folks. And then on the 17th, I had my first LAFCO meeting. The LAFCO meeting, I think, in general, is on a Thursday, maybe on the 3rd or 4th Thursday of the month, but there was a conflict with the LAFCO conference, so they moved it to Monday, so this was a kind of a unique one. It was pretty fast. It was mainly just on the budget. We approved the budget. We had a caller call in about, I believe he's a member of the commission, the Energy Commission. I don't know. So he called and he just was expressing a need to review that. And I did ask did we get a copy of that too? Wasn't there a report that was?
Yes, sir. There was a draft LAFCO report. I believe I sent it out to the board.
I think you did. So, we probably need to look at that too. Are you anticipating that we're going to provide comments?
We could talk about that. It's I was going to wait until we got a better sense of the final write-up.
Okay.
The first 9 sections basically go into the history behind the compromise agreement, and it was only in section 9 that they really start talking about governance issues beyond and potential energy providers. And then they have a chart which has a couple of different alternatives. The one that seems to satisfy most of the criteria is to set up a JPA and have IID continue to be the energy service provider for the Coachella service area.
Okay, and we could talk more about it, but the budget did have what seems to be the last portion of the $500,000 grant that they got from the state for this study. So it does seem like they're probably going to wrap it up during this fiscal year because all the remaining budget was put in there. So that's it for me.
Thank you. Anybody else? Is there a motion to approve the meetings reported on per diem?
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passed 5-0. General manager report.
Yes, sir. I did get a notice that the county it will be holding workshops. I just don't have the dates in front of me. I can send it out to the board members for the enhanced infrastructure facilities district that they're putting together. I did have a visit from Juan Perez, who's the county one of the chief operating officers, to kind of explain that no, they were not intending to take any of the district's, CVWD's general property tax, that they'd just be reallocating their own, which to me would be a discretionary action item by their board. It doesn't necessarily, I don't know what setting up an EIFD does for them that they can't do by themselves. So I would agree, there needs to be a little bit more.
I think they're going to take the increment.
Yeah,
It's about the increment.
Yeah.
Well, they take their own increment. And the actual law says that any other tax entity has to either affirmatively agree to be part of it or not.
Yeah, so it is different. It's different than the one that Brian Nestandi was running around a few years ago, which was intended to take everybody's and then use it to improve the area around the Salton Sea. This, I think, they're trying to use to enhance the availability of infrastructure for more affordable housing. Supervisor Perez has, I think, come out publicly saying he wants to build at least 10,000 affordable housing units in the East Valley, and he's looking for resources to be able to do that. The other thing, we had, Robert's not here because he's sitting in for me on a Salton Sea Coordinating Committee meeting that Wade Crowfoot has scheduled. This really goes back to the MOU that was signed last year between the state of California and the Department of Interior, IID, and CVWD to provide land access and water for the Salton Sea mitigation plan projects that the state is responsible to run. So our last meeting was in February, and they set this one for today. I told them I was not going to be able to attend, but we would have somebody there. So I'll get a debrief from Robert and move on. The standard, we have 0 qualifying cases for COVID. We have 1 person at home because of a household member qualifying. So 3 for the month of April. Not our best. We had 1 for the month of March in 2022. We had 0 for the month of May in 2021, but still a good number. And that's all I got, sir.
Thank you. Council report.
Yes, Mr. President, and I know that you have a Ledge Committee update on various pending bills, but I do want to mention SB 753 that deals with adding a misdemeanor and felony charges under the penal code for the illegal theft of water by cannabis operations. And this is a big issue in the larger rural areas of Riverside County, San Bernardino County, and others, where you have these far-flung operations that are not duly permitted, that are tapping into surface water, groundwater, unpermitted wells, in some cases just directly connecting into the water pipelines of these water districts that are small water districts, not here, but small water districts that don't have the ability or the enforcement to actually stop it, or if they catch it, the person says, well, I'll just pay for it. So this bill would add various levels of penalties and fines and imprisonment for not just the degradation of the environmental area or hazardous disposal, but also for the direct use of illegal tapping into water supplies. Big issue for a lot of areas in the water district. Just wanted to mention that. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, interesting. Thank you. Any departmental reports today? Yes, Mr. Bigley.
I wonder what this is going to be.
Thank you for giving me a little time to speak with you, and I'm so glad you're all here today. So I will be retiring next Friday, Cinco de Mayo, nice day, and then off to Mexico. And in case I don't come back, I wanted to make sure I had the opportunity to make some appreciative comments to you and others. And I just didn't feel right drifting off like some other retirees do, and then not, seeing them again. So, it's been great to be here in Coachella. I started almost 35 years ago at the Sisters Extraction Plant here on Dillon Road, and shortly after joined the laboratory here. And so it's good to be back in Coachella. And, first and foremost, I want to thank the board, both past and present. The board we have is one of the most engaged, knowledgeable boards that we've had, and it's your decisions today, the regulatory session. Thank you for your support. Often our work is not looked at as something that supports our mission as well as maybe other types of capital projects, and so we certainly appreciate your support, and keep making those decisions like you have, supporting those 3 pillars of our water management plan. When water's available, get it. It'd only be too nice if our future boards have too much water to deal with, to support the continued growth of this valley. And conservation, that's your big lever. We're going to need to use that lever to meet our future needs and continue to growth and prosper in this valley. And then the recycle water. And we appreciate your support today, working towards Warp 4's recycle water. Your commitment to give back to the community is notable. You don't do this for per diem. You commit a huge amount of your time to give back to the community, and I hope to also someday be able to do that. I have to give back to family right now, have family matters to take care of. So, but after that, I hope maybe I'll have that opportunity, and thank you for giving back like that. Tom Levy, Steve Robbins, Jim Barrett. I was so lucky to have such great leaders, role models, great mix of toughness and compassion at different levels with different ones. And I was able to learn great negotiating skills and, running meetings and all of that. And I've really benefited a lot from that. Jim, wow, your service to the nation, to the community, continuing. My hat's off to you. I don't know if you'll ever stop, and it's remarkable. It's really remarkable, and you're going strong. So keep it up. That's great to see. And thank you for your support, creating the Environmental Services Department, putting me ahead of it. That confidence is great, and I appreciate that. We've had a lot of challenges, a lot of regulatory challenges. You heard some today, sprinkled in with a few successes that are always good to see. But most of it is just new requirements, new demands, more costs, and often I'm not the most popular person in the room, and I know that. And I remember waiting in line to see Tom Levy or Steve Robbins back when you did things in person. And I'd peek my head in, oh no, what's Bigley got now? Somebody keep this guy out of my office. And it was always some new regulation or some sort of water quality challenge. But they always had that little grin on the face, and so I knew that they recognized the importance of making sure we comply with all the requirements that are coming out for us. And quality control, holding staff accountable, making sure every number is checked. Thousands of numbers reported to state and federal regulatory agencies every month have to be checked. We had my staff had a luncheon for me back in December when I was going to retire then. And, they talked about some nicknames that they had for me, and some I won't repeat, but toughness, tough, new people would come in, okay, he's really tough. And so I had a high bar, and holding staff accountable was part of that. And they are the engine that you see me standing up here, but it's the staff that are putting in the time, doing the work, making sure quality control, data, quality assurance, the numbers we put out are accurate, and that we're keeping everybody in compliance, straightforward, honest discussions, not always popular, but something that is important. And your support for that is important to me. And I have a lot of staff. We have 29 now and dozens that have left, but I do want to, they all deserve appreciation, but 4 direct reports that I have, 2 of which you heard from today. And they are well equipped, skilled, and able to move you forward. Zoe Rodriguez Del Rey, working on the Salt and Nutrient Management Plan. Do not underestimate the significance of that. It will make or break our Coachella Valley resources. And I hope it will make it. And an unprecedented amount of collaboration has been done with all 8 large water and wastewater agencies working together to update that plan. And, we're in the Salton Basin. Salinity is a really important thing, and that plan will drive decisions that could affect businesses and homes and agriculture and golf. So it's really important, and we've got a nice path that Zoe's shepherding through collaboratively, and I won't be able to see it to the end. It's probably got another 5 more years at least, and but I know that you're in good hands moving forward with that. William, you heard from, William Patterson, environmental supervisor, navigating the CEQA and environmental review. I look at the state, when they're doing some of their projects now, they get their exemptions from CEQA. So there's a recognition that the system is broken. We're unable to do a recharge project in a stormwater channel, something we've been doing for over 50 years, and we've been working hard to try to get that permit. And it is a challenge. And from the wildlife agencies to the Army Corps, it's not built to help us do what we need to do to help this community. And I would continue advocating for changes to that. We're doing health and safety tasks that we need for the community there should be exemptions to allow us to do these projects timely. And I think the state is starting to recognize that it's becoming more and more difficult to do projects to help communities because of the environmental review nightmare and permitting to do these projects. So William is well equipped and skilled. You saw that today to move you forward, to continue navigating this constantly changing maze of regulations. But he is well equipped from his mannerism with the regulators, and I hope that, I'm sure he will continue to move you forward. Will Gonzalez, our lab director, he's working on new requirements for better quality control, quality assurance, record keeping coming down from the state. They're gradually squeezing out the small labs, and these labs provide important rural assistance, and that is something that you can be proud of. You're providing services to folks in the eastern Coachella Valley that are able to use the laboratory to meet their needs for their small water systems. It saves them efforts and time to perform that monitoring that they do because we have a lab, a state-certified lab. So he's working on making sure that we comply with those new requirements, and he's well equipped to do that. And Randy Mays, our water quality supervisor, he's new to the group. He's already engaging on PFAS and hexavalent chromium and the future review of the arsenic rule in the state of California, whole effluent toxicity requirements, new wastewater permits. He's totally engaged, working with some of our partner organizations that we work with. Another thing, I've been able to work with our Arid Waste California partner water agencies because you have allowed me to be able to participate and work collaboratively to make a difference, to advocate for changes, sound science. Sometimes that gets dribbled into some of the permits when we're successful. And it's because you support me attending conferences or participating on task force and all of that. Sometimes the payback isn't obvious, but you recognize the importance, and you've always supported that. I've spent the last 3 years passing on my institutional knowledge and guidance and going through files and trying my best to prepare staff so that we can carry forward and continue to meet CVWD's mission. I think with your support, they will continue to do that. They're dedicated and they care a lot about CVWD being successful. And I do too. And I'll leave my number with Jim. He'll have my number if I can ever provide any help to you. Just let me know. And my phone number is always there. So.
Good.
Okay.
Well, yeah. Really want to say thank you. Congratulations on a really great career. I think one of the best moves Jim Barrett made was creating that environmental service department and putting you in charge of it. That was a big move, and it really was the right thing for the district. I've been appreciated working with you on lots of different things. You know, yeah, sometimes you're a little depressing. I don't know if you're a pessimist. I think it's just that you're in that environment, and what can you do? I mean, you're more of a realist, I think. Yeah, and it sounds like you're a pessimist, but that's because we're in California.
Yeah.
Anyways, I really do appreciate your contribution to the district and the Coachella Valley, and wish you well in your future.
Thank you,
Steve.
Yeah, and Steve, I wish you well. Congratulations. Thank you for setting the bar high. I think that's a good thing. I think that your name is well known across the state of California. I think you're a highly respected individual in your field, and it's because of your knowledge and the passion that you have for what you do. And I think that's obvious. And so thank you for spending the last 2-3 years, transferring your brain into some of our staff, which I think you've mentioned. And I'm hopeful that that moving forward, hopefully, we're going to find someone that has the same level of passion and dedication to continue to move us forward in the right direction. And I really think that I agree with you that we have some good internal candidates here. So I'm hoping that that's what's going to be the outcome. But with that said, congratulations. Thank you. I wish you well. Wish your family well. Get your stuff done with your family so that you can do the other stuff you said, which is because I know that it's something that you've mentioned to me even 3 years ago, that you seem to really have a desire to continue to be involved at some sort of level of public service. So looking forward to seeing you do that. That's going to be another chapter in your life, and so continue to give back. If you have the passion for that, then do it.
And I live in Desert Water Agency service area, so you're not a threat.
And feel free to reach out to us if you decide to do that and you want some advice.
Yeah, I'll need it.
I'm a realist too, and I appreciate your candidacy and how you come to us and you tell us what needs to be done, and we listen. I mean, I've really listened. I've learned so much from you. You may not act like it, but the things that come out of your like even today in your speech, you've been telling me that and warning me about we need to get more, get as much water as you can and be ahead of the curve on a lot of these issues. And thanks for pointing us in that direction. I think that the districts I think this district has always been ahead of the curve, and we need to stay ahead of the curve. And thanks for making us stay on that track. I want to personally thank you again. You're going to be missed here. You're a wonderful human being, and the district won't be the same without you. It's going to take a few people to replace you.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah,
But thank you.
And Steve, I would just say, in my short time here, you really helped kind of escalate my learning curve considerably. And every time I've had a question for you, you've been able to really fully answer and thoroughly. And I may not always really completely understand it, but it stimulates me to do more research. And so you've helped me to be a better board member, and I really appreciate that and wish you all kinds of success.
Thank you.
Sure.
Man, what kind of long speech was that? I think that was the longest retirement speech we've had in the 23 years that I've been here.
Well, you had some time to kill.
Yeah. So, Steve, and look, everybody's responding individually, and we just have so much to thank you for. No one's irreplaceable, but you're about as close as it is to it, right? So, thank you for your service, and I'm sure we'll probably hear from you in the Desert Water Agency world, right? Because that's your world. So anyway, thanks a lot for all the help you've given me and the whole district and the people of Coachella. You're incredible. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. My retirement gift from the staff was a Tin Man statue about that tall, and I had them all sign it. I don't know what all the meanings of the Tin Man is, but maybe a little robotic. I don't know, but I love it, and I'll get your signature on it in the future. I'd love to have it if you have time to do that. But thank you very much for this time. Okay.
Thank you.
I've seen those Tin Man statues, and usually they have a big heart on them. I hope this one has that.
It does have the heart.
If it didn't have the heart, I'd have a few questions for staff. Cool. All right. Did you want to say anything, Jim?
Not at this time.
Okay.
I can catch up with Steve later. I do appreciate everything he's done for us. But I don't believe there are any other departmental reports. So
So yeah, at this time, we'll recess to closed session to consider the items on the agenda, and we will come back out here and report out when we complete that. Meeting is hereby reconvened. We do have one reportable action, and Council Frey will make that report.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. On item 12A, anticipated litigation regarding receipt of claim from Raul Aon. A motion by Director Nelson, second by Director Bianco, and a vote of 5-0. The board took action to reject the claim and to direct that the appropriate notice be sent. Therefore, that was the end of the closed session.
Thank you.
Very good.
And with no further business, we are adjourned.